Okay, I stopped. Okay, so so I didn't really have any clever things to open up with this video. So just we're gonna talk about cars today. Throughout my life, I've technically owned 2 cars. I have driven more than that, obviously, because I've driven my parents' cars at various points in time. But this video is not about my cars. This is about the movie cars, Pixar movie cars that came out in 2006. So actually, let's see, 2006, I was 14, so it would have been a little bit before I got my driver's license or got my learner's permit, as it would be actually instead. But yeah, cars, the movie Cars. So obviously, this movie is set in a world where there are I would say kind of anthropomorphic cars, but they're not cars that look like people. They're just cars that have the ability to like speak and have, like they have like, emotions and everything like that. So they're kind of anthropomorphic in that way, but they're kind of along the lines of like Disney animals, like the lions from Lion King. And it's like they're anthropomorphic in the fact that like they can talk, but they're not anthropomorphic in the fact that they have taken on physical characteristics of humans, like Mickey and his group have. Like they're a little bit more anthropomorphic. Or going into just other things where the animals have become quite a bit more anthropomorphic. Disney doesn't do too much of that, but there's some of it there. So Cars. So the movie takes place at the 2006 Piston Cup is where the movie starts. It's the last race of the season. The championship at the, it's referred to as the Motor Speedway of the South, which I'm sure is an actual place, but the most I know about NASCAR is literally from the Cars movies themselves, from the 3 Cars movies, and from just other things I've picked up over time. Like, I know that Mario Andretti is a really good driver, and, Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. and different things like that. It's like those things I've picked up just from osmosis, but NASCAR is never really that, it's not a big thing for me, and it's not really a big thing for my family as far as I'm aware. I mean, my aunt and uncle have been to, like, the Kentucky Derby, but that's horses, not cars, but it is still going in, like, a circle, I don't know. So, yeah, this is about the only thing that I'm just like, Cars is my reference for NASCAR. So, the main character in the movie is, of course, Lightning McQueen. He is this very skilled but arrogant, as it's, usually stated, racing rookie, race car and everything. And he is very, 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 into, I'm going to be the first rookie in history to win the Piston Cup and everything. This is what I'm going to do. This is my dream that I've been working for my entire life and everything. So, I mean, like, you kind of want to root for the character, but in the beginning of the movie, he is very this arrogant and everything. And, he's, very rude to other cars to a degree. I mean, like, he part of the running thing in the movie is that he keeps firing, like, his pit crew chief and keeps, getting angry at, like, the other car, his pit crew and everything, which is, in NASCAR, of course, the pit crew is, of course, the ones who are, the ones who, change out the tires, refill the oil, clean off the windshield, anything like that needs doing during the race, and everything. Well, I was going to say the other thing that I just popped into my head that would be my other kind of reference for NASCAR is, of course, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby starring Will Ferrell. So, again, probably not very realistic. And I'd actually prefer Cars over the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. Not that the Ballad of Ricky Bobby is bad. I prefer Cars because talking cars. Also, I'm a fan of the classic Herbie movies and everything. The talking, with the Volkswagen that's like a race car that's sentient. Those ones I like. So, we're introduced to these other 2 characters. One is this veteran of the Speedway, 7-time champion, but he's going to be retiring. His name is Strip the King Weathers, and he is a representative for this, this company is called Dynaco, that is this big, I don't remember if they ever said exactly what Dynaco does, but they're like this big, whatever big corporation that's like a big sponsor of racing and everything. And then the other one is Weather is the King's personal rival. Chick Hicks, who is, he's always come in second place to the King again and again and again and again. And then, of course, we have Lightning. So it's the three of these ones are, it's like their race to win or their race to lose. And throughout the course of the race, we see how Lightning interacts with them. And we see, very true to the way that, like, race cars would be. They have crashes on the speedway and everything like that. And in the end, it comes down to Lightning has been, he's got like a lap ahead of everyone by not stopping for, he's only been getting gas whenever he stops in his pit crew, and, his tires get blown out. And, just like, I think it's like 100 yards from the finish line or something like that. And then we have Chick Hicks and, Strip Weathers, the King, coming up behind him. And it's this three-way tie because, like, Lightning is literally hopping his way to the finish line. And it's this three-way tie between all three cars. And Lightning, always, thinks that he won and everything. And he's very arrogant. And Chick Hicks is very rude and obnoxious character, whereas the King Weathers, where he has very much, he is very appreciative of his crew. He's very like we see his wife there, we see him and like the guy that runs Dynaco, like they get along great. And Lightning just can't stop imagining like, him being the one that's going to be the new race car for Dynaco and everything, which I will admit, while I do like Lightning's red, I do like the Dynaco blue that they have for the character. I do like the Dynaco blue. That is a very pretty blue. And what we see happen is, of course, it's announced that it was a three-way tie and that all three of them they're going to have in a week. They're going to have one final race. It's going to be just the three of them. And the winner of that race will be the winner of the Piston Cup. And I hear the dog in the hallway. One moment. Hi. Come in. Come in. Come up. Up. They can see your tail. They can't see you. See? His tail. Granny, up. Up on the bed. There we go. And you can see the puppy. He's the puppy. He's my puppy. Baby. Hi. Hi. He's my puppy. So I'll pet you while I talk if you want to stay over here. They don't want to see your butt. Hi, I pet you. Okay. So of course it's Lightning's intention is of course to get to California sooner than Chick Hicks and anybody else so that he can practice on the racetrack and like schmooze and talk with the guys that run Dynaco and everything. And that's his intention, but first of course we end up introducing to his sponsors who are these kind of older cars, and they run this company that's called Rusty's, like get rid of the rust on your bumper type thing. So it's like a very it's a thing that Lightning doesn't like having to be his sponsor, but he has to do it because he's very stuck up about being around all these rusty cars and everything. And I like the fact that the guys that they have played the two guys that run Rusty's are the same guys that are, if you ever heard of NPR, they have like Car Talk, which of course, Click and Clack, the Tappet brothers and everything. And unfortunately, I know one of them passed away several years ago, and I think the other one is still around. But I know that they played these two characters, and I think I think Pixar specifically wanted them to play this like set of brothers, because of course they still have the don't drive like my brother and don't drive like my brother. Those things that they have in the movie, which I really like that they did that. And like I listened to Car Talk with my dad. I used to listen to Car Talk with my dad and everything like that when it was on NPR and when it was running and everything. And I'm just like, well, this is kind of interesting, but it was something to do with my dad. And Lightning doesn't like being around the other race cars, and of course he has his semi, that is his semi truck called Mac. And they're ready to drive across the country, and Lightning's intention is to drive all the way across the country, straight through the night and everything. And Mac is like, no, Mac literally needs to rest. He like falls asleep literally while they're driving. And one of the things that they highlight in the movie is that when Lightning is talking to his agent, The agent is like, oh, I got like 20 tickets for the race for me to give to your friends. Just give me a list of names and I'll hand them out. And Lightning like just can't come up with any friends' names because it's hinted that he doesn't really have any friends at this point in time. All he's been doing is like focusing on his racing career. And anything outside of that is like just, blinders on, and he doesn't care. So that's kind of one of those moments. And then what else happens is, while him and Mac are traveling, which actually, if you actually know like kind of the life of a truck driver, they drive a lot, and they just go watch things about truck drivers and like the things that they have to work with and everything. It's not fun. But they kind of show that with Mac. And, Lightning gets separated from Mac. Because he like falls out of the back of the trailer, the semi-trailer, and he gets separated, and he ends up in this town called Radiator Springs, where he actually ends up like causing a huge amount of damage to like their road coming into town and everything, and he ends up, and admittedly, certain aspects of what happened to him, I'm like, okay, I don't blame him for being scared, but you way overreacted type of thing in certain cases for the way that he acts. And he ends up then meeting like the people that live in the town. He meets, Mater, who is the tow truck, and, there's the sheriff, and there's, all these other very colorful characters around town, because it's supposed to be representative of this very small town America that used to be right on the route of Route 66. And, when the interstate came through, it could like bypass the town. Of course, we find out the history of the town throughout the course of the movie. And he's introduced to, there's like a lady that runs like the diner, and there's like a guy that is, the guy that does like a whole bunch of like pinstriping and car designs and everything like that. And, there's like a tire shop, and there's, it's like all this other stuff that's all around town that I just find so adorable. And what ends up happening is Lightning actually ends up having to go to trial in the town. And like, their judge is Doc Hudson, and he is, does not like this race car being in his town, wants to throw the race car out. But the lawyer in town, Sally, convinces the town that they need to have Lightning fix the road, because they need to have a good road to get different people to come in, get people to come in from, out of town, come off the highway and everything and come and see their town, or else they don't get money in the town. Which is a very, a very relevant thing, in the fact that lots of small towns, even small towns here in Nebraska, have kind of fallen off the map a little bit because the interstate passed them by, or because not a lot of people want to stop there. And yeah, when, last year when my dad and I were on our trip around the state with my nieces and nephew, there was a lot of, oh, there's this and there's that, and like, oh, there's this small town and that small town, and, we stopped all over the place and everything. So, yeah, there's lots of places around like that across the country, unfortunately. And hi. And what ends up happening is, of course, Lightning is sentenced to community service, and he is sentenced to having to pave the road by using this big giant like a tar machine called Bessie. And like that's where he, that's what his punishment is he has to like go and like repave the road, which he has like about a week to get out to California, which is now slowly dwindling down day by day. And, he's, having to try to pave the road and everything. And like there's this like couple of cars that come through, and like it's, the husband that does not want to stop and ask for directions, and the wife is just like, why don't we stop and ask for directions? And like Lightning tries to get them to tell them, tell these people that I'm Lightning McQueen, that I'm this, race car. And like he's like trying to prove that he's this big shot race car and everything that he needs to get to California, which none of them are really buying it, or, they're all just like, yeah, whatever. That doesn't matter. You still need to fix our road. And throughout the course of the several days, he ends up interacting with, pretty much everybody in town. Starts off with bad impressions, and it slowly gets better. And of course, he keeps trying to flirt with the lawyer who actually runs the local motel. And several things happen throughout the course of the time frame. And what happens is, Lightning ends up kind of getting, very angry because he, he tries to pave the road, and like he, it's like as soon as you finish paving the road, you can leave. And he tries to do that, and he does a horrible job of it. and then he ends up like kind of getting challenged to a race by Doc Hudson. And, Doc Hudson basically shows him up because, Lightning does not know how to drive on dirt, and he gets, knocked off, trying to do a turn, and it doesn't work. And then he ends up getting, has to go through and do, repave the road again after he scrapes off all the tar and then start all over again. And, like, he's very watched by the people in town, obviously, but it's just, like, he, one night, like, the second night that he's there or whatever, like, he ran out of asphalt when he was paving the road, so he went and the sheriff took him, and he's, like, just, like, Lightning's trying to do these, make this turn, and it's not working. And, Doc Hudson comes by, and he's, like, seeing what Lightning's doing, and he gives him this tip of, turn left to go right, or whatever it was, turn right to go left, one of the two on the dirt roads. And, Lightning tries it, and he's, like, bewildered by the fact that it worked, and he's just, like, amazed by that. And, people in town are starting to warm up to him little by little. And what happens is he ends up going and, he's, like, him and Mater go out, like, the second night or whatever, and they do tractor tipping, which I've never done cow tipping. It's not something I want to do, but they go out and they do tractor tipping, and then they get chased by the giant, like, thrasher thing that just chases them around. And Lightning keeps having all of these different visions or nightmares of, like, imagining, like, Chick Hicks getting the Dinoco first and, like, getting the one that's going to win and everything, and then, like, all this other stuff that happens, and it's just funny. It's just, like, it's really funny watching, like, Lightning's, like, oh my god, this can't happen to me moments. And what happens throughout what ends up happening is the dog flipped over. He poked the dog. He pet the puppy. He's a good puppy. Yes, he is. He's my good puppy. I also just love how all the details in this movie that, like, even, like, all the bugs are little tiny cars. The little lightning bug cars. I love that. That's adorable. I just find that so cute. I just find that adorable. And, like, Lightning ends up, like, the guys that run the tire shop are, like, from Italy, and, like, they follow the racing scene, but they follow only, like, the Ferrari racing scene. And so, they sell tires, and they try to convince Lightning to buy tires, and it doesn't work, and, like, all this other stuff happens. And, like, the third morning or whatever that Lightning gets back into town, or is, staying in the town, he, goes and he ends up looking into, like, Doc's storage shed, and he sees this piston cup sitting there. And then he sees two more. And then he sees, like, all this stuff about, like, the fabulous Hudson Hornet. And, Lightning is just, like, Doc Hudson was the Hudson Hornet, was this, like, amazing race car that, like, originally had won the Piston Cup, like, 3 times, like, done all this other stuff. And he's just like, but how is he here? Type moments. Like, he's just, like, bewildered by that. And, like, Doc comes in and, like, sees what he's doing and, like, chews him out. And, like, the character of Doc Hudson is actually based on this actual type of car, because, like, the Hudson Hornet was actually a type of car that they had, and it was one of the cars that was originally used in NASCAR. And so, it's like, it's based off of this. It's based off of, there was an actual car called the Fabulous Hudson Hornet that was a race car. And Doc reveals to, Lightning that his career had ended because he had, like, a horrible crash in, like, 1954. Like, the time frame that they show, it was like, I had this horrible crash, and by the time I was better, the racing world had moved on and left me behind. And then, like, somehow he ended up, like, there in, like, Radiator Springs. Cars 3 delves a little bit more into, like, into, like, Doc Hudson's past, but we get a good enough glimpse of it here into, like, into, like, what he went through as, like, he got into this crash and, like, everything else happened. And Doc Hudson is, like, also kind of like the town's doctor type thing, mechanic type thing, so that's just kind of funny. And what happens is, like, as like Lightning is having to pave the road, like everybody else in town is like trying to, like, clean up their stores, like, fresh coats of paint and better, nicer signs and everything like that to, like, kind of get people's attention. And, like, I really like how they do that. And what we see is, Lightning goes and tries to convince everybody in town. Doc Hudson, he was this famous race car and everything. And, they're just like, but no, it's just, no, Doc being a race car. God, no. And I just find that hilarious because it's just like we used to, in the house that I grew up in when I was a kid, when my parents were still married, down the street from us was a mechanic, and he was a very nice guy, and, like, I would walk down and talk to him and everything like that, when I was a kid and everything. And, just, like, watch him work in the garage or whatever. Like, he used to work on, like, something happened to one of my parents' cars, he would work on their car. If anything happened to, like, people on the street and everything, he would help them, fix their cars. But it would be like that if I found out that guy had, like, it would be like if that guy was, like, if I was told that, like, that guy used to be, like, a famous racer, I'd be like, that guy? Huh. Okay, where's your proof type of thing? And I mean, nowadays with the internet being what it is, it would be very easy to just be like, tick, 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 tick. Here, pull up video or picture or whatever, like, prove it. But, maybe not so much. I mean, this was 2006 in the time frame, but still, a little bit. And what happens is, Sally ends up, like, convincing Lightning to, like, go on a drive with her. It's not like she has to, like, do much to get him to go with her. And, like, they go and they drive through just, like, this very beautiful state park type area that's, like, a, just beautiful cliffs and overlooks and just, like, beautiful driving. And I was just like, that would be a beautiful place to drive through. Nebraska doesn't have too many of, like, this type of stuff, but, like, we have, like, our sand hills and we have some other areas. And, like, Sally tells Lightning this story about, like, how she ended up in Radiator Springs. And she explains, I used to be, like, this big shot lawyer in California. And then, like, I left and I ended up, like, just driving and driving. And then I broke down. And I broke down here in Radiator Springs and, like, Mater towed me in and Doc fixed me up. And I never left type of a thing. And I just fell in love with the town and with the people here. And, he's like, well, what happened to the town? And she's like, well, it used to be vibrant and beautiful and, like, thriving because, like, they were right on Route 66, Route 66 and everything. And, like, people would come in and stop and, like, buy stuff and, all this other stuff and, like, just have a great time there. And then they would, head off. And, now, like, when the interstate showed up, she says, like, the highway used to, like, move with the land, and, like, it was like people drove because they wanted to see what they were driving through, as opposed to just drive past it and not pay attention. And, like, I can see that. We took, like, different types of back roads at times when we were on our trip and, different things like that. So it's just like, I understand where that comes from. And, like, other times when I've been on other trips, sometimes it is, it is the journey, not the destination, is literally kind of the reason for this movie. And, like, Sally explains that, like, this place used to be great, and then it just kind of, like, slowly is dying. And, like, that's why we need this road, that's why we need this, all this other stuff, because we need to get this town going again, or else everybody's going to have to leave. And, like, Lightning and Sally head back to town, and he finishes paving the road. And, so he does what he's supposed to. He finishes paving the road. And what ends up happening is, like, the next morning, everybody sees, oh, he's finished, so they just assume that he left. Even though they kept, like, only giving him, like, certain amount of gas, because then if he tried to leave like he did the first time, he would just end up getting so far out of town before he would just, like, break down because he ran out of gas, and then have to tow him back. So it's just like they kept doing that. But, like, he stopped trying to leave. And what happens is, like, they all seem kind of sad that they think that he left. And then, like, they see that he didn't leave. And then Lightning basically spends, like, the whole day, like, getting, like, he gets new tires at the tire shop. And he finds out that, like, because it's, like, Luigi is the owner, and then, like, Guido is, like, his employee. They're, like, best friends. And, like, Guido is, like, very fast at, like, changing out tires and everything. And so he like, changes out Lightning's tires really, really quick. And, Lightning goes and he gets like a whole new like paint job with like very sparkly red, or well, not sparkly red, but very vibrant red and everything. And like, Radiator Springs bumper stickers and different things like that. And like there's like all these characters in town, because there's also like an old army sergeant type Jeep truck, car that is like very by the rules. And then there's like a hippie van. A hippie van that I love that has like organic fuel, and like they argue all the time, and it's funny. And like, we see all these interactions within the town and everything, and so Lightning like shows off, the fact that he's like embracing Radiator Springs, and like that night, like everybody like turns on all of their neon signs. And, like Sally and him, like Sally gets to see kind of a little bit more of what the town would have looked like in its heyday. And like they're all like they go for like a drive, and like they're strolling up and down the street and everything like that. Everybody's like kind of Cars version of like a dancing is like going for a stroll, is like driving and everything. And like, so they're doing that, and like everybody's really happy and everything. And like Sally and McQueen are obviously falling for each other. And like Mater keeps teasing them about that, of course. But what happens is at that moment is when like these helicopters show up, when all of these reporters show up, when like Max shows up, and it's just like they found Lightning and everything. And like they like, take him off to go back to go to California, where he's supposed to be for the race and everything. And like, so they head off. And like Lightning doesn't really want to leave, but he still wants to go to his race and everything. So it's like he says goodbye, and like they get into the, he gets in and they head off. And like one of the reporters says, "Are you Doc Hudson?" To Doc, and he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Thanks for giving us the tip on where Lightning was." And like, they all leave, and like, Sally just kind of berates Doc for like, you told them where he was. Like she gets like kind of angry at him. And, Lightning ends up back in California, ready to do the race and everything. And like he just like for the first part of the race, he's just not as focused as he had been, around like around Chick Hicks and, around Strip Weathers and everything. He's just not as focused as he was. Because now his mind is filled with like all this different things of just like, being in Radiator Springs and enjoying actually driving, as opposed to just driving as fast as you can and everything. And like we see a bunch of that, and what ends up happening is, Mac is kind of going to be his pit crew for the day, but that's not really going to work out too well, because like Mac's not really designed to be like a pit crew. It's designed to be a Mac truck, not a pit crew. And what ends up happening is, Lightning throughout the race, like we see that like the King Strip Weathers is getting ready to retire and everything. So it's like, you've been such a, you've been like a hero to me and everything like that. From like other race cars that are around, and like there's lots of references to other things going on, of course, because there's lots of cameos in the movie from different like late night talk show hosts, because there's like a Jay Leno cameo, and there's other like Mario Andretti racers coming in and like being at the race and everything, and like watching the race and everything. And it's just like, yeah, I can understand that. Just coming in, like they gotta be like a bit part in a Pixar movie, sure. And Lightning is like during the race, he ends up having like someone come over his intercom, and it's Doc. And like Doc and Guido and Luigi and Mater and I think Flo, and then why can I not remember the name of the guy that was the painter? I can't remember his name. It's the spray paint artist. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But what ends up happening is like they're there, and like they're like rallying behind McQueen and like rooting for him and everything. And this like gives Lightning his spirit back, and like he comes in and like he gets his new tires, and Guido is just like so fast that it just makes the other pit cruisers just like, what just happened? And so Lightning is just like, I'm proud of my pit crew now. And like he had, like he gets his, gets the lap back that he needs in order to, get back into the race and everything. And they get down to like the last lap, and, Lightning is literally Lightning is clearly going to win. And what happens is Chick Hicks, in a, very brash attempt to try to, like, I guess, at least not come in second to the king anymore, to Strip Weathers anymore, like kind of bumps him in the, because, like, as you're driving and everything, just like even like a small thing can like throw you off course. And like he does that to the king and to Strip Weathers, and he like spins out and like lands into the grass and like, gets beat up and everything. And Lightning is like coming around the final turn, it's the last lap, and he just has to cross the finish line and he'll win. And he like sees on the screen that sees on the screen where they're showing what happened to Strip Weathers, that he just like he stops literally like right before the line, because like in that moment, it's like in Lightning's mind, in that moment he's like, the same thing that happened to Doc is going to happen to Strip Weathers. And I mean, like, he's retiring anyway, but he doesn't like that thought of it just feeling like they left him behind. And like Lightning just can't agree with that. And like Chick Hicks like zooms past him, like wins the race, and like Lightning like backs up and makes his way over to where the king, where Strip Weathers is, and like starts pushing him out of the ditch and everything, and like pushing him so he can cross the finish line, and so he can finish his last race. And like he says, I think that the king should finish his last race. And the king's just like, you had it in the bag, you would have won, and you would have won the Piston Cup. And McQueen's like, an old car told me that it's just an empty cup. And like, he's saying that, of course, like Doc can hear that over his headphone, over the, the headset and everything. And like, yeah, Chick Hicks won, but everybody's just like angry at him. Like all the press and everybody else is just like angry at Chick Hicks for like what he did to, Strip Weathers, for like, bumping him and like making him crash and everything. They're all just very angry at him for that. So it's just like, yeah, you won, but yeah, here's your cup. And they like whack him with the confetti, which is just funny. So that's just really funny watching that. And like, Lightning and, Lightning gets, King back, gets Strip Weathers back to where he's supposed to be, by his wife and by Dynaco and everything. And what ends up happening is, he kind of gets the offer from the guys that run Dynaco to come and race for them. And he like looks over and he sees Doc and Mater and the rest of the group, the rest of the group that came to the race, talking to like the Rusty's guys and the Mac and everything. And like Lightning looks over at them, and like he looks back over at like Dynaco, and he's just like, I appreciate that, but I'm going to stick with these guys a little longer. I'm going to stick with these guys for a while. And he's like, that's fine. It's just like what you did back there. It's like, the guy that runs Dynaco and, the king, Strip Weathers are, they're very, very good friends and everything. And like Lightning showed that he understands that there's much more important than just racing and everything. And like, so I like that they showed that. And then like, he's just like, if you need anything, if there's ever a favor I can do for you, just let me know. And, Mater had mentioned that he really wanted to fly in a helicopter. So, Lightning's like, I think I can come up with something. And like we cut to, it's at Radiator Springs. Like Mater gets to ride in this helicopter and everything. And he's really happy and everything. And like Lightning tells Sally that his intention is to make Radiator Springs his home base for his racing company, for his, racing brand. And so she's very happy about that. And like, so that'll like help rejuvenate the town, because now there's going to be this big, this big race car there. And like, he told like some Ferraris about it. So like they show up at like Luigi and Guido's shop to buy tires, and like both of them faint. And that's hilarious. And, Sally and McQueen are kind of like now officially a couple and everything. And, everybody's just very happy. And like, he makes like a Doc Hudson racing museum and everything. and like him and Doc like just become much better friends, and like Doc becomes much more of his like mentor and everything, and like they keep doing different driving tests and everything like that, where Doc is like trying to teach McQueen different tricks and everything, and McQueen gets very cocky and Doc just keeps kind of showing him up at times, which is just funny. So we see a lot of that and everything, so that's just great there. And of course, like the credit scenes that we see are like they get like a drive-in movie theater, because like in Cars, I guess every movie theater would be a drive-in movie theater. And like so they're showing like a bunch of different references to like different Pixar movies. Like there's a toy car story, so it's like Woody and Buzz as cars, and like all this other stuff. And there's like a Bug's Life, so it's like they're all cars, and Monsters Inc., so they're all like monster trucks and monster cars. Like this other stuff. So those are just really funny. It's just like, I mean, like, I know that they had like just like literally like Tim Allen and Tom Hanks and like all these a bunch of them just like came back. It was like, just come back, just do like 3 lines. We just need this for this movie because we need it to be car themed now. Okay, fine. And like they do that, or they use like stock audio footage for it, and then like just reanimate it with like a car character instead. And like it's like they're rejuvenating the town, and I like how they do that. And then like there is an end credit scene where it's just like we see the minivan couple are just straight up lost. It's like you're never going to see them again. They're lost beyond all recognition. They are lost. Yeah, so that's funny. And then we move into the cast of the movie. So Owen Wilson, of course, plays Lightning McQueen. We have Paul Newman as Doc Hudson. This role of Doc Hudson was actually his final film, before his retirement and his death. His retirement in 2007, and then his death in 2008. And actually, Cars was the biggest box office hit of his career. And then we have Bonnie Hunt as Sally Carrera as the lawyer. We have Larry the Cable Guy from Nebraska as Mater. I've seen Larry the Cable Guy at Memorial Stadium, and that's the only time I've been in Memorial Stadium, even though it's literally like right up the road from where I live. We have Tony Shalhoub as Luigi, who's one of the guys in the car, or one of the guys in the car. No, Tony Shalhoub as Luigi, who is the guy that runs the tire store. We have Cheech Marin as Ramon, who's the spray paint artist and everything. I could not remember his name, but yeah, I was just like, yeah, Cheech Marin. As that, I believe he's also the one who voiced Bonsai in the original Lion King movie, I believe. And then we have Michael Wallace as the sheriff, just like the sheriff in town. We have George Carlin as Fillmore, who is the hippie van. And this was actually the last movie that George Carlin did before he died, and I still find it hilarious that the man who is the most famous for his most famous comedy act is like literally the 7 words you can't say on television or radio is in a Pixar movie. I just find that so funny. I just for the life of me, I will always find that funny. I don't know why, but I will. We have Paul Dooley as Sarge, who's like the Jeep, the military type Jeep. We have Jennifer Lewis as Flo, who is like this very classically designed like Cadillac type car that runs like the diner, and she's married to Ramon. We have Guido Guaroni as Guido, the forklift thing that works at the tire store. We have Richard Petty as Strip the King Weathers, and I believe I don't remember exactly. I know that he's been in others, but I just cannot place him. I apologize for anyone that actually knows who Richard Petty is. I'm sorry. And we have Michael Keaton as Chick Hicks. And of course he's so many other things that Michael Keaton has been in. Beetlejuice, Batman, Vulture from Spider-Man, just so many stuff. And then we have Catherine Hellmund as Lizzie, who is this 1923 Ford Model T, who was married to Stanley, who was like the founder of like Radiator Springs. So we have that. And then there's John Ratzenberger as Mac, this is the truck. Because John Ratzenberger is in every Pixar movie. And then we have Tom and Ray Magliozzi, aka as Rusty and Dusty Rusties, who are the brothers that run the Rusties thing that sponsor Lightning as one of his main sponsors, and they're of course Click and Clack, the Tappet brothers, as I said, from Car Talk. So yeah, I just find them funny. I like that reference that they throw in there. There's like lots of other ones that they have as like different racing commentators, or as like other people that came in and just were like, you get like 3, 4, maybe 5 lines in the movie, maybe less, and like that's just what they're doing. And it's still just fun. And then in regards to just kind of like the making of the movie came about because John Lasseter, who is the founder of Pixar, one of the founders of Pixar, and who had directed, Toy Story 1 and A Bug's Life and Toy Story 2 and everything, his kids were growing up very fast and he wanted to still spend time with them and everything. So him and his wife took their kids on like this big, long, road trip where it wasn't just like where they were going wasn't the destination. It was just driving and seeing what they found, because that was like the road trips that he used to go on when he was a kid with his parents and everything. And so, like the crew of Pixar actually like went on, like after John Lasseter got back from the trip with his family, him and like a bunch of the other, writers and directors and artists and everything from like, Pixar went on like a big road trip themselves and everything. And along Route 66, and that would be something I think we have. I do not remember if part of Route 66 goes through Nebraska or not. I think it does, but I don't remember off the top of my head whether it does or not. I think part of it might, but I don't know, because I know that it goes like from Chicago to LA or so, but I don't remember exactly if part of that goes through Nebraska or not, or if it like goes down and then goes back up. I don't remember. But like, so we have, so it's like they went on that big road trip and then they used inspiration from that, from like people they met along the way, and, just like small towns they went to and everything like that all along the way. And I just love how they did that. So, there's not really too much else. I mean, like, I think they have like a Cars racing game, but I've never played it. Yeah, I've got a Kingdom Hearts shirt on right now, but Cars isn't in Kingdom Hearts as far as I can remember. I don't know what they would do if it was. I mean, like, I guess like it would be like maybe like Sora and Donald and Goofy get turned into cars, but I don't know. Yeah, I just like, there's a lot of stuff that I just like. I really like the Cars universe, and I think the way that this is set to come out for when this video will come out will be like the week before my birthday, and then Turning Red itself, the review for Turning Red, will come out on my birthday on April 22nd, on that Friday, and then the week after that will be I believe it's WALL-E is the next one, and if I had planned it right, I could have had WALL-E come out on Earth Day, but I'm like, I just want Turning Red in here, so Turning Red comes out on my birthday. So that's what we have. I thank you very much for watching the movie. I do love the Cars movie. Cars 2, I would say probably out of all of the Pixar movies, Cars 2 is actually probably my least favorite. But that doesn't mean that I don't still like it, because I still enjoy Cars 2. But that'll be a little ways down the line. So that's what I have. I thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video. And just, comment about, like, if you've ever been on a really fun road trip with either your parents or your friends or your siblings or whatever. Just, like, comment on, like, a really fun road trips that you've been on or something like that. Just mention that in the comments if you want. So, thank you for watching. Have a nice rest of your day. Bye. Minnie, can you say goodbye? He wagged his tail. That's about as good as you're going to get. Bye.
This grumpy old car I know once told me something. It's an empty cup.